Coming up, we're taking a look at the radar across the region. Strong to severe storms in the River Valley, heavy rain. We got a lot to talk about. Keep it here. We'll have the latest in weather in just minutes.
We have the Sound of Freedom flying over Fort Smith.
Plus, a look at the economic impact a pilot training program could have on the River Valley. And one company is recalling over 2 million pressure cookers after reports of burn injuries. What you need to know. And here's a live look from our 5 News Storm Chaser. This is east of Mountainburg on I-49. You can see it's a rainy one out there. Your 5 News this morning starts now.
Covering news where you live. This is 5 News This Morning.
Well, hey, good morning and happy Friday. Thank you so much for joining us on your 5 News This Morning, live on Channel 5 and streaming all morning on 5+. I'm Tiffany Lee. This is Joshua Weisel. We're holding down the fort today. Joe and Stephen have the day off, and it's a good day to have the day off because it's rainy out there today. You might want to stay inside if you can.
Yeah, and it's already an active morning. We've already seen numerous severe thunderstorm warnings in the River Valley earlier this morning, and even now you can see Franklin, Crawford, and Sebastian County still included in a severe thunderstorm warning. We also just from the National Weather Service were issued a flash flood warning, and it does include a large chunk of the River Valley, LaFleur County, Sequoia, Crawford, Sebastian, even into portions of Johnson County this morning. So heavy rainfall leading to that potential. Let's zoom into the River Valley and tell you what we're talking about here. Severe thunderstorm warning goes in effect for right around another 10-12 minutes or so, and you can see 60-mile-per-hour winds are going to be the primary hazard, along with quarter-sized hail. Now, the other thing that we want to let you know about is there are some reports of downed trees, or at least a downed tree near the community of Greenwood, as well as quarter-sized hail. So we have had a couple of reports of this activity across the region. So it's an active start to the morning, and you can see already some of those damage reports, unfortunately, across the area. Zooming into northwest Arkansas, you can see heavy rainfall moving in there as well. It is just a wild start to the morning with heavy rainfall. It's going to be loud. It's going to be noisy. Make sure you allow for extra time. That's a look at what we've got going on there. Let's take a look at your traffic across the region. You're looking at Highway 540, and this is at the Oklahoma line in the River Valley there. That's the radar here. We'll show you here in just a second if we can. But overall, we're taking a look at the traffic across the region behind the scenes. We'll let you know the very latest if anything changes, but no major updates so far.
All right, thanks for that, Joshua. Now we're taking a look at that power outage map. It seems that these storms are causing some power outages this morning. That number has gone up throughout the morning. Right now, Washington County, a little over 1,300 people waking up without power. And then down in Sebastian County, we have over 2,500. So if you're waking up, can't turn the lights on, you're watching right now on your phone, this is why we will keep you updated throughout the morning as we learn more on when they plan to get the lights turned back on. Well, continuing coverage, a daycare center in Centerton says that it plans to reopen next week after a car crashed into their building on Wednesday. Little Martians Learning Center in Centerton posted the news to their social media, also announcing that everyone injured in the accident is on the mend. They also thanked first responders with the city's police and fire departments that helped after that crash. Police officers on scene say that they believe the driver was a guardian of one of the children at the learning center. We're still waiting for details from investigators on what exactly caused that crash. Well, now to the latest on a Fort Smith doctor that's facing allegations of sexual assault and possessing child sexual abuse material. LaDarryl Langford pled not guilty to the charges during a court appearance. He was arrested this week. Prosecutors allege that he sexually assaulted someone on March 30th. Investigators then uncovered hidden cameras in the victim's room. According to court documents, the videos on Langford's devices dated back to 2016. Multiple victims were identified, including a minor. Well, we've learned all 5 international students at the U of A who had their visas revoked have been restored to active status. We learned last week that 2 of the students had returned. On Thursday, the university confirmed to us that all 5 had their student visas restored, but they did not provide any details on why the visas were terminated to begin with. With the arrival of international pilots and cutting-edge aircrafts in Fort Smith also comes a powerful new chapter for the region's military footprint. 5 News reporter Lauren Spencer went to the event hosted by Prime River Valley Professional Summit, and she checked in with leaders about the F-35 project.
Those jets you've probably heard flying overhead are being credited with fueling economic growth, strengthening national defense, and putting Fort Smith on the global stage. Already a critical center for drone operations and surveillance, the 188th Wing now supports a full-fledged fighter jet training mission, all on a base smaller than most. Over 5 years in the making, commander of the 188th, Jay Spahn, says the project is now marking a major milestone.
Yeah, the first two Polish F-35 students are actually finishing this week. They're kind of the best and the brightest from their F-16 operation, and they were chosen to be the first students for that reason.
This isn't just a win for the military. Local leaders say Fort Smith's role as an international training hub could transform the River Valley.
The 188th was probably already in the top 5 economic, drivers in the city, and you add the FMS, F-35, and fighter operation to it, and it's probably going to be the biggest single impact.
Tim Allen, president and CEO of the Fort Smith Regional Chamber, expects this to add $500 million to $1 billion to the city's economy a year.
It could go higher because the mission, as you heard tonight, is actually growing. There's more countries coming than originally planned, and that's exciting.
Was Lauren Spencer reporting. After Polish pilots finish training, Fort Smith is preparing to welcome pilots from Germany and Singapore, with their first arrivals expected to touch down in 2026. Well, we've learned that a storm that left damage this week in Gravette was a tornado. The National Weather Service confirmed to us that an EF1 dropped down on Tuesday morning. Wind speeds were estimated to be up to 105 miles per hour, knocking down several trees and snapping power lines in the area. Well, down in Pope County, community members are cleaning up from storm damage in Russellville, including on the Arkansas Tech campus and in a nearby neighborhood. The Armstrongs say that they did not even know that their house had been in the storm zone.
We're sitting here working and you get a phone call
from a friend that says, hey, I think your house just got blown away. So we just loaded up in the car and drove over there.
I was just, oh my gosh, did that really just happen? The wind really just took our roof off?
Well, both areas are cleaning up and there are no word of any injuries. Well, President Trump is in Mar-a-Lago this morning after addressing graduates at the University of Alabama last night. Trump offered advice to the class of 2025 and spoke about progress on issues like tariffs and immigration.
We couldn't sell cars in China. We couldn't sell cars in Japan or anywhere else. We couldn't do anything. And all we're doing is we're doing it to them, but we're doing it much better.
Well, today the administration is settling into 2 big shakeups. Mike Waltz is out as National Security Advisor, but now the nominee for Ambassador to the United Nations. In March, Waltz mistakenly added the editor of The Atlantic to a Signal group chat discussing U.S. military strikes in Yemen. Vice President J.D. Vance says that's not why Waltz is being moved. Meanwhile, Democrats say the wrong official is leaving his post.
I think there has to be accountability for the mistakes and the errors that have been made, but I think the Secretary of Defense ought to bear that responsibility.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio now adds acting National Security Advisor to his growing list of interim roles. Well, we're learning more about the deal that was signed by the U.S. and Ukraine this week, giving the U.S. access to important rare earth minerals. Now, this deal does not explicitly say that the U.S. will continue to help Ukraine defend against Russia's invasion. However, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said that it signals to Russia that the Trump administration is committed to a peace process for a free Ukraine over the long term. The deal centers on U.S. access to Ukraine's resources under its soil, including oil and gas. Funds would go towards paying the U.S. for future military aid and to establish a joint fund for Ukraine's reconstruction. Well, Consumer Alert this morning, Shark Ninja is recalling more than 2 million pressure cookers in the U.S. and Canada after more than 100 reports of burn injuries. According to the Consumer Product Safety Commission, the lid can open during cooking and cause hot contents to escape. More than 24 lawsuits have been filed against the company, with about 50 people reporting second and third degree burns. Consumers are urged to stop using the pressure cookers immediately and to contact Shark Ninja for a free replacement lid. Well, while Christmas is still months away, toy makers and retailers are already getting ready. But some say they're having to pause those holiday orders. This comes as U.S. tariffs are being implemented on Chinese imports, sending costs soaring and disrupting the supply chain. Nearly 80% of toys and 90% of Christmas goods sold in America are made in China. Holiday production typically begins right now in the spring. Many businesses say they're not outright canceling their orders yet, as they're hoping that the White House will ease the tariffs. But in the meantime, they are preparing for potential shortages and higher prices.